I made one harmless decision at work, and 6 months later the entire place shut down. I worked at a small storage facility. Climate-controlled units, beige hallways, that weird mix of dust and cold air. My job was the front desk. Check IDs, hand out keys, log entries. Easy stuff, boring stuff. One slow afternoon, the system froze. Again, the screen blinked. I tapped the keyboard. Nothing. A customer was waiting, shifting from foot to foot, phone in hand. I didn't want to look incompetent, so I did what everyone did when things lagged. I grabbed a sticky note and wrote his name down. "I'll log it later," I told him with a smile. He nodded, not suspicious. It felt harmless. Totally normal. Everyone in the office did the same when the system acted up. By closing time, the sticky note had slid under the keyboard. I didn't see it. I went home thinking about dinner, not consequences. The next day, same story. System froze. Sticky note. Quick fix. By the end of the week, my drawer was littered with them tiny yellow slips of paper covered in names, dates, and unit numbers. I didn't think about it. It was just paper, right? Weeks turned into months. Slow nights, sticky notes piling up. Sometimes customers left in a hurry. Sometimes they were polite, sometimes frustrated. I was polite back, always, handing them keys and scribbling names. "Don't worry," I said once to a guy in a hoodie. "I'll make sure it's logged." He nodded and left, never knowing the system wasn't recording anything. Meanwhile, the inventory team started complaining. "Why does this unit show as untouched when it's clearly been accessed?" one of them asked. "This unit's empty but shows full. That's impossible." Management blamed software bugs, then blamed staff, then blamed customers. I stayed quiet because I didn't know it was me, but I started noticing patterns. Some units were always missing paperwork, always had disputes, always sticky notes in my drawer. That sticky drawer, my tiny yellow crime scene, held the only proof of months of activity. I remember the smell of the drawer, dusty and faintly like old cardboard, the curling edges of the notes, the tiny scratch of pen against paper every time I added a new entry. It felt mundane, but in hindsight, it was catastrophic. Those handwritten entries were the only proof certain units had been accessed. When corporate upgraded the system, they told us to clear unnecessary paper. I threw the sticky notes away, every single one. Without them, months of access history vanished. When items were reported missing, there was no record of who entered, when, or how often. Insurance refused to cover losses. Clients started leaving, one by one. Lawsuits quietly stacked up. Management panicked, but there was nothing they could do. The facility closed quietly 6 months later. No one ever asked me about the sticky notes. They didn't even know they existed. I still think about that drawer sometimes, late at night. How one simple, harmless decision, a note tossed in the trash can, unraveled months of careful work. It's strange, though. I wasn't negligent. I wasn't malicious. I just followed the small shortcuts everyone else did. And yet, that's exactly how a system fails. Quietly, unnoticed, in plain sight. Sometimes the biggest damage isn't loud. Sometimes it's tidy.